Blessings and welcome to our one-day retreat. And the fact that you've all come here on your holiday, today's a holiday, it's a sign that you give importance to the practice of the Dhamma, what the Buddha taught. Part of that practice is listening to the Dhamma, so we gain more understanding of what to do. Partly we undertake precepts, as you've just done, as a way of training body and speech. Partly, and mostly, it's an opportunity for you all to practice meditation, and particularly mindfulness and reflection, contemplation, but directed towards yourself. The Buddha's teachings are helping us to get to know ourselves better so that we can improve, be happier, be more successful, improve our mental health and physical health through the practice. And the fact that you're here means that you have some confidence that it is good for you to do this practice. And maybe also you see the value of coming to a quiet place. Monastery is in a forest, so a quiet place helps. And coming to a place where other people meditate and practice too, so that you get support. Some people will be like a good example or a reminder what you have to do. Sometimes we just get strength in our own practice when we're with other people who have similar faith, similar practice to us. Everyone knows the challenges of practicing meditation at home. Most people at home probably are not that interested in Dhamma and do all their other things. That isn't to judge them or criticize them, but that's just the way it is. But the Buddha encouraged us not to dwell or not to get too caught up in judging others and thinking about others and their faults and what they do. To come back to yourself all the time. Know yourself, come back to yourself. So if you see somebody else doing something unskillful, bad, wrong, come back to yourself. Say, do I do that? So to do that, to be able to come back to yourself, pay attention to yourself, you need to practice mindfulness. And that's something you need to develop, cultivate. So what did the Buddha say about practicing mindfulness? If you've ever read the Satipatthana Sutta or other teachings that the Buddha gave, he always starts with the body, your physical body. And when he says the body, what does he say for the body? He says, know your posture. So literally to know where you are, what your posture is at any one time. So now we're all sitting. So to know you're sitting, so to know how you're sitting maybe. So beginning of meditation usually is, how do we sit? How am I sitting right now? The Buddha said, try and sit up straight. Whether you're on a chair or the floor, your aim is to sit up straight because you get energy from that when you sit up straight. Straight as you can, you get energy because you're putting effort into sitting up straight. We all know what it's like when we don't sit up straight, we hunch over. It's easy to fall asleep. Other than if you have a health condition maybe, but normally put effort into your posture to sit up straight. but also to find comfortable posture. So like as you're sitting right now, just notice how you're sitting, whether you need to adjust. Notice your legs. How are your legs as you're sitting here? The ideal from statues and other people, we usually have the ideal full lotus posture is the best. And it is very good because it makes us very stable in the body, so you can focus more on the mind. But it's not the only posture, it's the ideal. Perhaps more common is half lotus. So one leg on the other, maybe left leg on right, right leg on left. Many people find that less painful in the beginning and you can sustain it longer. But try and get the idea right. You're aiming to sit still for a reasonable length of time, so you have to adjust. Try not to put too much pressure on one bit of your leg or one bit of your body. So that means you have to send your mind around your body to know how you're sitting right now, right here. This isn't how you're going to be sitting tomorrow or how you were sitting last year. And you can gain a little bit of knowledge from that, reminding yourself, oh, when I sit badly, my meditation is hard. But right here, right now, how are you sitting? Take some time to observe your body, and you can adjust. The Buddha didn't say, sit still and that's it, throw away the key, you can't move. You can move if you need to. But the aim is to be able to sit comfortably, and so you can hold that posture for a reasonable length of time. So every time you meditate, whether you're sitting or when you're walking, similarly, if you're walking meditation, usually the recommendation is you stand still first. You pick your path, whether you're walking kind of in a long route, just going around in a circle or something, or like in the monastery we tend to walk back and forth along a veranda or between two points, just walking back and forth, turning around. When you reach the end of your walking line, you turn around, walk back. But when you begin, you stand still. Bring your attention inwards to your posture, to your body. Standing. How am I standing? Notice your legs, notice your torso, your head. Sometimes we even get standing or walking wrong. When I first started walking meditation, I'd put my head right down and watch my toes. And so the teacher, who's a monk, he came along one day and he pulled my head back up to straight, just like a doll or something. It's more comfortable when your head is up straight, isn't it? That's normal. But sometimes when you are concentrating, you forget your body, so you sort of bend your head down looking at the ground maybe. Some people even think you have to walk meditation with your eyes closed. Dangerous. You can bump into things. So keep your eyes open. Try to stand straight, but also again, comfortably. But just feel how your body is. You may notice tension in your arms, your shoulders, whether you're sitting or walking. Try to relax the tension. So first you have to know that. You notice your own body as you're sitting, how you feel. You're being a friend to yourself. No one else can do this for you. Somebody can say, oh, your posture looks wrong, but that's just their words. You have to know how you feel, what your body is doing in that moment. So the Buddha said, get to know your posture in the present moment, right now, what we call Bodhivana Dhamma. You know when your mind is away from the present moment, you're lost in your daydreams and your moods because you won't know what you're doing, where you are. at that moment. Am I sitting? Am I standing? Where am I going? What am I doing? If we're honest in one day, then we have many moments when we're not fully aware of our posture. And then, of course, we can bump into things, or sometimes we get tense, don't we? We get tense in our muscles. And nowadays everybody's sitting looking at a phone, so you tend to look down at a phone. So maybe your back or your neck gets strained. Or when you're holding a phone, after a while your wrist gets strained, and so on. There's all these small things you start to notice as you practice mindfulness of your posture. So take some time just to get to know your posture as you're sitting here right now, and it's bringing your attention to the present moment, right here, right now. We need to do that more in life because we spend all our time thinking about other things elsewhere. And notice that today, how many times your mind wanders off to think about home, work, other people, other things. So it's a way of training, practicing. Bring your attention back to yourself as you're sitting. And then maybe come to the breathing, which is a very good way. It's not the only way, but it's a very good way to bring attention to the present moment by finding the in-breath and the out-breath as a feeling, as a sensation. And practice knowing whether your breath is going in and out. So you pick a spot, maybe the tip of your nostrils, or your chest, for example, or your abdomen. And know from moment to moment whether your breath is going in. And there's a pause, isn't there? When it goes in, there's a moment's pause, and then you have out-breath. Then there's a pause, and then the next in-breath. Just in that pause between the in-breath, the out-breath, already your mind can wander away. Forgets itself, loses itself. The awareness is gone very easily. Again, that's the challenge, just like knowing your posture, to know whether your breath is going in and that breath is going out. Something you have to practice. It's a very subtle feeling. So when you're putting attention on the breath, sometimes to start with, just breathe deeply so you find the feeling. You breathe in, breathe out. So you breathe in more deeply than usual for a while, just to notice what it feels like. Getting to know yourself as you're sitting here. But you can't sustain that for very long. So after a while, just relax, let your breath go at its own pace. Shallow, deep, short, long, fast, slow. You can just let it be. And try to just keep bringing your attention, your awareness back to the feeling of the breath at the spot, the place that you've chosen. So maybe the tip of your nostrils. What happens is things distract us very quickly away from the breath. So most often it will be a thought. Thought comes up. Where does the thought come from? It comes from your past thoughts. You've thought before about all kinds of things. You have memories, and then you have plans and desires. So we think. And as you practice mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati, your aim is to give less importance to the thoughts, more importance to the breath. And that will take some time, So you need patience, patient effort. It's something the Buddha encouraged us to rely on over and over again. Kanti paramang tapo titika. Patience is the supreme destroyer of defilement. Defilement is kilesa. You hear this word a lot. Oh, I've got defilements, many defilements. Well, it's a simple shorthand term for these qualities of mind, these mental states that disturb the mind, agitate the mind and lead to suffering. And they're constantly coming up into our mind because we lose our mindfulness from moment to moment. So what is the main way we lose our mindfulness and the way we get caught into defilement? Well, it tends to be things we like, make us start losing awareness and getting lost in some kind of desire for the things we like, wanting, imagining, fantasizing, or the things we don't like. I don't like this, don't want that. Either way, they agitate the mind, the liking, the disliking. Whereas when you're mindful of the breath, you may still have all kinds of, we say, mental impressions or sense impressions. Technical term is aramana. They come to the mind over and over again. Sometimes the thoughts and internally, sometimes sounds. If your eyes are open, sights, sensations in the body, feelings, pleasure, pain. All these mental impressions or objects stimulate defilement when we're not aware. So broadly, two categories, what they call itaramana, is pleasant objects, anitaramana, unpleasant objects. And when we're not mindful of the breath or not mindful of anything, we tend to run with the pleasure and delighting in things, or we run with the negative aversion, irritation, and want to get rid of something. So you'll notice many people have the experience when they begin their meditation, their mindfulness is not very well practiced. That's understandable. So the tiniest thing disturbs us. Because there's not a lot of other things happening around when you're meditating. It's quiet. Your mind doesn't have a lot to do. It does actually. I mean, you're trying to be very mindful from moment to moment, but there's not much stimulation. So the slightest sensation on your skin may pull your attention away from the breath. So you feel maybe cold air, or say an insect walks along your skin, or fly lands on your skin or something. You might notice, instead of it just being a small little sensation arising and ceasing, you might start thinking about it. Why are there so many flies here? Why are there so many this? Why is the air cold? Why is the air too hot? Why this, why that? That's the thinking and the distracting mind. Either liking or disliking. Maybe we create a little story just around one simple thing. Could be some pain in your body, maybe you feel aches and pains. Could be a sound. You hear a sound, you're just interested, what's that sound? Maybe you hear a bird you've never heard before. What's that bird? I wonder what's making that noise. Or maybe you hear a sound you don't like, a loud machine or something. Or too much noise, too loud. And this is something to investigate, isn't it? How your mindfulness slips away and we start to react to the different mental impressions that are both pleasant and unpleasant. In the mind create stories and moods and thoughts. And it might be a long time before you come back to the breath. So in the beginning of the practice we have to be very disciplined, rely on a lot of patience, a lot of effort. So when that fly lands, you just know, oh, it's a fly, it's a small thing. And you don't have to do much other than just wait a moment and it'll fly away. Flies tend to have more defilements than us, so they're even more agitated than us. We can sit here for an hour, a fly can sit on your skin for like 2 seconds and then it's gone, usually. So a lot of things that are disturbing, you just wait and come back to the breath and they'll pass all by themselves without you having to do anything. When you're not very mindful, you tend to create something out of it. So you might worry or get annoyed or distracted in some way. And that's the challenge, why we need to be patient, put effort, come back to the breath. And we also need to relax. So most of us come into the meditation with a lot of stress from the past. What we call our problems that come with life, to do with work and family and health and money and the world. So you have to be very patient to allow yourself to relax a bit and put effort into this meditation while you're doing it. So I will stop talking for a little while and we'll just try sitting quietly without the sound of my voice for a while. Just find that posture that you can sustain and practice some patience, mindfulness of breathing, getting to know your own body and mind, and try to let go of some of these distractions while you're doing it. We can practice together until you hear the sound of the bell. Before we leave the hall, take a few moments just to review how your meditation was just then. How was your mind? How was your body? Some people have trouble with sleepiness. It's very common. Take a moment just to notice, if you're sleepy, is it because you didn't sleep enough last night? Or maybe you've had a busy week and you're exhausted and it's now coming up. Or sometimes it's just more dullness, not putting much effort into your meditation to know the breath and be present. Sometimes it's habit. Just sitting still without much happening, your mind drifts away and then falls asleep. Or perhaps you have a particular issue bothering you which keeps coming up. Maybe some pain in the body, your mind keeps going back to it, makes it hard to settle down. Or maybe you bring with you some particular issue from home to do with your life, your work, your family, and you keep thinking about this. Or maybe you are very mindful with the breath and feeling much more calm and relaxed. That is basically what we're aiming for. We have to learn from our experience. We're not here judging who's the best meditator or the worst meditator. You don't have to blame yourself if you're not peaceful. But just learn what's happening in your body, your mind. As you've been putting effort into your meditation, sitting here this morning, what have you learned from it? If you were peaceful, what does that peace feel like? What does your body feel like when you're peaceful in the mind and the body? How is the mind? There's many levels of peace. So peace can simply mean you're content with yourself to be practicing. Even if you're still thinking a lot or sleepy or you have a painful leg or something, you can still be content or find contentment in your meditation. When you're irritated and annoyed, the slightest thing will agitate your mind. But when you're content, you can put up with a lot. But there's also feelings when you meditate and you feel content, you feel peaceful, maybe you actually feel some rapture in the body. Body feels very light, happy, relaxed. Sometimes it's tangible, you have feelings like waves of good energy moving up and down your body, tingling sensations. Sometimes your hair stand on end, sometimes tears form in your eyes. Sometimes your body feels so light, it's like you're floating. If you're really peaceful, maybe you can't feel your body at all. You're just left with the mind itself. Sometimes we have those experiences just for a few moments, a minute, 2, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. Sometimes they last a lot longer, but just notice how your meditation was. And if something was working good, that's a good sign if you're more peaceful, more calm. If you were not peaceful, well, you can learn from that. When you're not peaceful, there's something bothering you, you keep thinking about something, upset, bad memories, worries. Just know that, oh, I'm worrying today. Oh, I'm upset about something. Just know what's going on in your mind. That's the first step to understanding yourself better and getting through any particular suffering you have. As you become more aware, then any suffering is just seen as suffering rather than my suffering, my problem. You're just looking at it in a more peaceful way. Oh, there is this way of thinking going on. Well, you just watch it. Maybe you might notice in one meditation period, everything changes. Start off peaceful, then you have some worries or pain coming up, get annoyed or agitated, then maybe peaceful again. Things go in cycles, things come and go, or we say arise and cease. And that's teaching you something. As you're meditating, often you have a thought come up that says, this is the most important thing I've got to think about. I've got to think about it right now. But as soon as you stop meditating, say like now, you're maybe not watching your breath, you're listening to me. Where's that thought gone? That big issue, that thing you've got to do, When you're sitting there on your own quietly, meditating, it seems so important. And you say, I can't watch the breath because I've got to think about this, solve the problem, sort it out. Where is it now? As soon as you get up, walk away, it disappears, doesn't it? It's not that important. So remind yourself of that the next time you're getting lost into some big issue in your mind. Say, well, okay, it may be something that is true, but it's just a thought and it will pass. So you're changing your perspective, you're becoming hopefully a bit more insightful. You see much of the suffering you have, it comes and goes, you can let go of it. You don't have to get so caught up in all your emotions. So now we're going to take a break from the morning session. We will pay respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha.